Hello and welcome to the Wicket Train podcast. I'm here today joined with Marshall's very own Paul Waldron. How you doing?
Yeah, very good. How are you?
Doing well. Paul for Marshall is an under-13s premiership coach. He's also dominated in the GFL, premiership player for Bell Park, 1997 reserve premiership at Grovedale, multiple best and fairest wins for Grovedale, over 300 games played, and now coaching, I believe.
Yeah. Assistant coach with the seniors and under 12s coach as well.
Good stuff. We'll start your recent one, the under 13s premiership win. How'd that feel for you?
Yeah, it was awesome. On the night, leading up to it, I was sort of downplaying it a bit to myself, maybe even to the boys, trying not to get them too hyped up. But been able to reflect after the win the week after. It's been awesome. So it was good catching up with them all Friday and giving them all a bit of time in the spotlight at the presentation night. But yeah, it was awesome. They loved it. They had a great time throughout the year, and they worked really, really hard. Probably played the best cricket for the year in our competition. So they were well-deserving winners on that Friday night. Yeah.
Well, you've been coaching for a couple of years now, and that has to probably be your best moment at Marshall, you would say?
Yeah, sure. So prior to that, I guess we were in underage comps where there weren't any finals. Um, Last year, yeah, we were never really a show making finals, I don't think. Had a few good wins, but yeah, this year all of a sudden we're up the top there, playing really good cricket. It's been great to get some of the kids who've been in my teams for the last few years, see them develop. Some were the grade below, and to see Maverick to come up and play this year, to see his improvement. Harry as well, hadn't coached Harry before, but it was good fun to see him improve throughout the year. So Zabe Lewis, your brother, and Callum Spencer's been there too the last few years. So seeing those four boys progress through their cricket the last few years and then top it off this year with a win was awesome.
Is that what you like in coaching the most, seeing players you coach for a while get better, or is it the new kids that come in and step up?
It is to see the guys that you've had a few years develop over the time. There's no doubt the players that came into the team this year definitely helped and probably helped the confidence of some of our players too. To know that they were going to be able to go out and just play their game, not have to do too much, not have to make too many runs or take all the wickets because there'd be other players to step up and do that. So yeah, it is. It's good fun to see them develop over the time. Some just learning how to hold the bat when you first meet them and how to bowl it on the pitch. And to see them develop the way they did this year was it was really fun to see.
Are you eyeing off the back-to-back going again?
Well, there's a few things to happen before that it gets worked out. So age group wise, I think under 13s will lose Max. He'll go up. I'm still unsure of Zave Lewis, whether he goes up or not. But other than that, we should be able to keep the same team together. Whether or not the Grovedale recruits come back and play, remains to be seen. They obviously added a fair bit to our team this year. I believe there are talks in with their managers and their parents. And I know you offered them a contract on Friday night. I'm not sure you've heard anything come back this way.
There's definitely talks about keeping them here, especially Jasper being 9 and a good player. Definitely try to keep him.
Yep.
I think Josh does move up though, maybe.
Yeah, okay, probably does. Father son though.
Yeah.
Dad, former club coach, I believe.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah.
So we make some magic happen there and get him back over.
Yep.
But that's nothing. Your footy career is probably one of the best for you. Obviously, over 300 games played, multiple medals. I know what's your favourite? What do you enjoy most about playing footy?
No, it's hard to put it down to one thing. Just always love the challenge of going out there and playing your best. Didn't matter where we were on the ladder, how I was going personally. I was sort of gave it myself a goal to go out there and play my best and help the team the best way we could. Just love doing that from under 12s, I suppose. Come down here and actually used to play right out here on the ovals down here in under 11s and under 13s before going on to Grovedale, playing lots of junior footy there. So I had a fair bit of success early on in juniors at Grovedale. So under 15s premiership win, under 17s loss in the grand final, then an under 18s loss in the grand final. So I got used to playing in finals a fair bit as a junior. And then you don't know how you're going to go when you get up to that senior level. So I played that first year in the reserves, 3 senior games, I think, but then ended up getting dropped for the first reserves final that same season. So that wakes you up a bit. Fortunately for me, we lost that first final. So a couple of changes were made, and I got brought in, and we ended up going on to win the grand final by, I think it was a goal against North Shore in the reserves that year. So, yeah, that probably gave me the kick to keep going and to try and keep improving. I was up at uni at Ballarat at the same time, so probably not much time to footy as I should have been. But just kept developing throughout the year, and coach gave me a late senior game and just threw me into the middle. I guess that's where I've been playing in the reserves. Threw me into the middle in the last few senior games and started to get a bit of the footy and sort of just took off from there. So, yeah, after that, it's all about winning. And unfortunately, at Grovedale, we didn't do enough winning to make it into finals. So it wasn't until I made the switch over to Bell Park that I experienced the senior finals game. Yeah, the footy that we played that year was amazing. So to win the grand final that year was the pinnacle. Wasn't the same as had it been with Grovedale, having played so long at Grovedale. So just playing for Grovedale was really important to me. But yeah, that ultimate premiership success didn't actually come until I went over to Bell Park. Fortunately, I was able to go back and play with Grovedale. I really enjoyed trying to get us up there. And preliminary final was the best result that we got. But again, having another go this year and trying to get us back up there this year.
Yeah, nice. I mean, Grovedale's always been thereabouts in the GFL. Some years they make it, some days they don't.
Yep.
But it's good to see from your experience how sometimes many years just don't lead to it. But over your long career, what would have been your favourite season to play footy, juniors or seniors?
So favourite season. So the year at Bell Park, so the first year at Bell Park, I think we lost twice to South Barwon. So the 2 times we played them, the rest of the year just felt like all we had to do was go out on the park and play, and that was going to be enough to get us the win. So many star players there. So that's, in terms of going out and beating, knowing you're probably going to win, that was the most enjoyable. But then coming back to Grovedale and making the prelim in 2016, didn't know what was going to happen. So I had enough talent, but didn't know that was going to eventuate. So to play that year, to gel as a team the way we did, that was probably the most satisfying from a team point of view, to be able to play that year and make the prelim final. Individually, 2009 and 10 were probably my best years. Just playing consistently good footy. I'd always been a bit up and down. Good result in the best and fairest, then dip down again, and then sort of up and down. And so I put it on myself to have a really good, consistent season those couple of years. And yeah, was able to do that. Again, fortunately, didn't quite make the finals. But personally, that was probably the most enjoyable years I had. Yeah.
We'll touch on it. You say Bell Park, you could just turn up and win, and back to Grovedale, you don't know what was going to happen. Did you prefer the confidence playing with Bell Park, knowing you could go out and play a game, or did you like the mystery that Grovedale from that year?
Mystery, I like that. Both had their great feelings. Yeah. I mean, when I say just turn up and play at Bell Park, that sort of doesn't give value to all the hard work that goes into it, and the hard work that they put into their club and their team years prior to going there. They'd put together a really solid team that had sort of got really close and hadn't been able to get over the hump. So for them, it was a reward for plenty of years of hard work. For me, it was go and just play a role, which ended up being down back. And there's so many good players around you. Knowing what you were going to get from them every week was really important. And I guess, so Grovedale makes the grand final in 2013. And so I moved back over there 2014. It didn't quite happen the way that maybe the club thought it would. So we didn't continue rolling on. And so a little bit back to square one, middle of the pack. Elimination final loss in 2015. But again, we started to build up again. So, yeah, it's fun not knowing, and it's fun riding the wave of a bit of momentum throughout that 2016 season. Starting to get some good game plans together, starting to get a few players. Young Brian Myers came in and gave us an injection that year, that final series in particular. So that feeling of what might be was really, really exciting. Yeah.
We'll talk on that. Grovey has developed some good AFL players. You got the Mitch Nevitt, a few of the Grovey boys got picked up in Geelong last year. Obviously,
Yep.
Myers. From a coaching role, what you have, do you see the development from a junior level, or is it when they hit that 18s reserves, you really see players start taking off?
Yeah, it can happen both ways. So I actually taught Mitch Nevitt as a grade 6. There wasn't heaps of him, and he was a pretty quiet kid, liked to play footy, but didn't see it at that stage. Wasn't until he got into under 14s, under 15s level that he started to grow and develop. He actually did a knee throughout that period too. So to see him work as hard as he did in the gym on his own, you could sort of see that that was going to come. And so once he got healthy and fit, he sort of took off. So Cooper White was also there at Geelong. Didn't see a lot of him as a junior. He was always off the Falcons. But to see him sort of step up and go another level in the practice match down here a few weeks ago was really exciting. In terms of other juniors, yeah, we've had a lot of juniors who sort of showed a lot of promise as 14, 15-year-olds, and they tend to go off and play Falcons, and we don't see them too often. So Brian was a good example of that. He came back when he could. Yeah, you don't see too many who aren't at that level at a young age and then sort of pop their heads up at 18, 19. You never know. We've had a few guys come along and play, and so a Gillett who just played with us recently, but again, 17 years old, sort of took the GFL by storm a couple of years ago. Yeah, whether or not was it always going to come, but I know the high school across the road had pretty much all of those guys. So there's obviously a developmental pathway going well at Grovedale College there. But yeah, I think what we've got in place at Grovedale in terms of juniors, so lots and lots of junior teams. Our young players are actually taking over coaching roles and have done for the last few years. So it's good for them to see that pathway from playing junior footy through to senior footy. Whether or not that takes them to levels above that, I guess that's up to the individual, how hard they're willing to work. But yeah, they definitely see a pathway from playing junior footy and senior footy. That wasn't always the way. Particularly when I was first coming into the senior team, lots of talented guys who ended up going to Mottawarri, other clubs when they didn't first get a look into the senior level. But Daniel Fraser, who's coached now, has a real emphasis on getting the junior guys through the program and getting them into the team as soon as he can. Yeah.
Do you feel like juniors can be turned off by those big clubs? Obviously, South Barn have got a lot of kids. Grovedale's obviously a lot of kids, same as St Mary's. Do you see the kids get to the senior level and feel like they don't have a chance and then move clubs, or do most kids stick with their home club?
Yeah, good question. I guess it does depend on the kid. If they're willing to put the work in, they obviously have a love for the club. They'll probably play juniors there their whole life. But if they can see a chance for themselves, they're more likely to stay around. It's also fun to be offered money to go and play senior footy elsewhere. And so as a young 18, 19-year-old, that's a bit of a lure. And so I think that's what tends to happen. Plenty of big clubs don't have any trouble keeping their young guys. So a St. Mary's, a St. Joseph's had lots of success lately, and it's been based on those young guys. So yeah, there've been lots of juniors there that have gone up through the ranks and have been the base for their premiership team. So yeah, I think if you do it the right way, from a coaching point of view, from a club point of view, you should be able to retain your young players. Yeah, we've seen the best teams be able to do it.
Great insight there to a good question I asked. Obviously you played a lot of games. Who would have been the best player you've played against?
Played against. Question again. Lots of good players. Obviously, I was lucky enough to go and play with quite a few of them when I did go over to Bell Park. So the Sheringham brothers, Dean Talbot, who was always a pain in the backside when we played against him, but a ripping fellow and great to be able to play on the same team as him. But and to hear them talk and know their footy as well, you don't always see that when they're out there. You see natural talent, I guess, and see that that's sort of what takes them there. But you find out that they understand a lot about footy, and that's half the battle. That's the reason why they are the best players in the comp. So yeah, I guess from a consistent, always going against them, they were always hard to play against. Players like Rick O'Toole, who came into the comp at different times for St. Joey's. North Shore was a massive powerhouse there when we first started senior footy. And then South Bowen sort of dominated for forever and ever. So play against guys like Warwick Nucky in the midfield a lot of the time. But it wasn't just him. So the Corrigan brothers continued it on all throughout that decade. So, yeah, lots and lots of good players there. And, yeah, never an easy matchup. Doesn't matter what team you're playing against or what level. If you're not up for it at GFL footy, yeah, you'll be made to look silly pretty quickly. So always, yeah, lots of players that'll make you work hard.
Yeah, top comp that GFL. Shy away from teams played against. Who's your favourite player you've ever played with?
Favourite player? Probably the player I like kicking it anywhere towards was Mitch Barrow. So he played some VFL footy, came down this way to live in Torquay, and luckily enough, we were able to get his signature when he came. But all you had to do was sort of kick it in his vicinity, and he would either use his body or jump out of the gym to mark the footy, and had great hands. So, yeah, he was one of the more fun players to play with. You can never say it's not fun to play with Speedy Deans, Nathan Deans, just a human battering ram, all heart. The hardest player I've ever played with, I would say, to go in and win the footy that he does. And again, just a consistent basis, just gets up and keeps ploughing on. Yeah, so in terms of talent, hard work, those two were probably the two standouts at Grovedale for me. Played with a lot of guys early on. So Daniel Fletcher, Matt Bruin, Luke Rayner, Peter Wilkinson were sort of big four, and they used to play interleague footy for us, and they were all Jets, silky players. So to watch them as a young guy, that was sort of what we aspired to play like. Bruin's son now playing here with Geelong.
Yeah.
So that talent was always there. Yeah, so Daniel Fletcher was someone that I always looked up to and wanted to play like. He coached me in under 18s too, sort of played the same position. So I modelled myself on him a little bit. And yeah, just a ripping fellow on and off the field. So yeah, he's probably just about the top of the tree. Yeah.
Yeah, nice. Obviously, your playing days are now done for the minute, or you're still sneaking games in?
Last couple of years, I've played some reserves games. I think every time I go to training, I think I can still do it. Rolled an ankle at basketball a few weeks ago, so maybe that's the sign that it's all over. But who knows? Come June, when it gets a bit cold and wet, numbers might drop. We'll see. Yeah, but it's still good to get out there and have a kick around with the boys, and even get a game in when we can.
What are you looking to achieve in this JFL season that's about to come up with us?
Yeah, it's a bit of an unknown quantity, to be honest. Again, we've been around the middle of the pack the last few years. Lost a couple, gained a couple, but don't know what those guys will look like when it comes to actually playing games. I'm looking forward to seeing what it looks like. So Thursday we play Torquay. We've got a couple more hit outs. So got some guys down back who look like they're good sizes, good aggressive footy players. So looking forward to that. Ryan Abbott, full season with us. It's exciting. Speedy comes back for us too. So yeah, we're looking to sneak into the finals. That'll be our main aim. Obviously, you got to win some games and really to set your season. Get a bit of luck injury. Who knows? We'll see if guys play VFL or not. If they drop back, then that helps our talent level. So yeah, I guess an aim would be to sneak into the finals if we can. Yeah, who knows what will happen. So
Be a long few months. Speaking on the VFL, do you find it's hard in the GFL with gun GFL players getting a chance to play in the VFL for Geelong?
yeah, it can make it difficult. So if you've got a handful, 2 or 3 maybe, and you're relying on them for a bit of your talent level, if they do play a lot of VFL, then you don't have that. Obviously, there's clubs who might have 10 guys on their books who are playing VFL, so at any time they might have 5, 6. You've still got 4 playing with you. So yeah, it's obviously a great pathway for guys to get a chance. So you'd never begrudge anyone the chance to go and train with a VFL team and play to try and chase their dream of getting up onto an AFL list. So yeah, it's a great pathway, which I wish there was more of that when I was a younger guy. Because you can be that 19, 20, 21-year-old who starts to play good footy and get your chance to go in there. So yeah, it's a really good pathway for guys to have a go at. But yeah, it can make it challenging for the clubs who probably don't have as many resources as others do. Yeah.
As a coach, I'm going to ask this one because I play for him. Do the Super Saints have any chance this year?
Super Saints, do they have a chance of what?
Winning.
Winning? Yeah, absolutely. So they nearly rolled us last year, actually. So we had all sorts of players out. I actually was away that weekend.
It was 16 out with COVID that round.
Something like that. Yeah, I don't know the final numbers, but yeah, it was a windy day. It got real tight there. I remember reading the scores as they were coming through on the phone. Yeah, absolutely. Again, if you're in the GFL, you don't have enough talented guys on the field. All you got to do is put it together. So they weren't that far off in some games, I think. I think they've got a solid coach there from last year. They've done a few players, which always helps. But yeah, who knows? Maybe you might get a game. Is that what you're trying to aim for this year?
Hopefully not. Hopefully not. Stay away.
You reckon they're not going so well if you're playing?
Yeah, pretty much. If I'm getting a game this senior, something's going a bit.
Would you have said the same thing about cricket, though?
I feel like cricket's a sport where you can play up no matter what your skill is. I feel like for me personally, if I was to go play senior footy, I'll just get hammered by bigger bodies.
Yeah.
Whereas cricket, I can use my talent and still have an edge over players.
Yeah. Still hold your own out there.
Yeah. So the moment I get into a contest, I'll be broken bones each side of my body.
Yeah. Yeah, that is one thing about the GFL. It's hard to hide. Yeah. But plenty of guys have done it. So we had 15-year-old playing with us a few years ago. Whether or not that was the right choice to put a 15-year-old into the team. At the time, Woody sort of put his hand up to play senior footy. But yeah, I think that's the one thing when you go out there at that level, plenty of big bodies, and yeah, who knows what can happen. So yeah, for your sake, I hope you don't get picked there.
Same. Well, thank you for your time today. Thank you for joining me on the podcast. It's been a pleasure having you and your insights to the GFL footy and what you've been able to achieve.
Pleasure. Thanks for having me into the wicket train.
No.
Hopefully it keeps going well. Will there be an off season or are we shutting it down?
Possibly with the Ashes coming up, we'll sneak in a few. Hopefully Australia beats India today and
Yep.
might get some more. But yeah, we'll see what happens during the winter with a bit of Ashes.
Yep.
Hopefully Australia wins that. And
We're actually heading over to England, so we'll be there around the time of the Lord's Test, and I think at Edgbaston too. Looking at tickets yesterday, frighteningly expensive. The tickets are.
yes.
Yeah, much sought after. So if anyone knows of anyone out there, hit us up with some tickets.
Oh, we do have an international player, Matty.
Yeah.
Hopefully he can help you boys out and give some tickets.
Yeah, so looking forward to getting over there for to England there, see how the cricket goes. Australia in pretty good form now. They might have found their way a little bit more over there in India.
Yeah, made 400 runs in the first innings.
Yeah.
Usman dominating. Greenley's maiden 100.
Yep.
So all signs good for Australia there.
Yeah, nice. And your maiden 100, similar circumstances this year?
A little bit. I mean, his probably was harder on pitches in India. Mine was a hard wicket deck and on a bit of a small ground, but 100's 100.
That's right. First one, sweet.
Yep, definitely. Doesn't matter where you do it.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you for joining me.
No problem.
It's been a pleasure.